Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time of day it is. Thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Dr. Don. I'm stoked. I'm so happy. I've got Constance Emerson Crooker, Connie here, back again after almost 2 years to talk about what's been going on since she was last on the show. Thank you for coming on again.
I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to be anywhere.
It starts. How are you feeling right now?
I feel great.
Good.
Yeah. I clean scans and nothing active with my cancer right now.
And we will hear more about that as we get into the show.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. It still amazes me. And we talked last night before we were scheduled to come on tonight and broadcast this second show. And I watched the first show again that we did 2 years ago. And I was enchanted all over again. You're just a delight to talk and visit with.
Well, thank you.
And when I asked you a minute ago how you were feeling, I realized that I was kind of tense, and just asking you and your response relaxed me. So I'm going to melt in the chair.
Yeah.
So for you new viewers who've not seen this show before, Conversations with Dr. Don is an ongoing series of one-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like most of you out there about who they are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals, and whatever else seems of interest to talk about. The show goes into two major parts. The first part is what I call the bio part, where I talk to Connie about who she is personally, so you get an idea where she's coming from when she talks about melanoma and other things like that in the second half of the show. So it's kind of a routine we go through, so let's go through it again, all right? Ready for your trick question, your first one?
Oh, yeah, I forgot what the trick question was, so go ahead. I'll act surprised.
If I were to ask your best friend, who is Connie, what would your best friend say? She'd say, or he'd say, Connie is what?
Exuberant.
Uh-huh.
And colorful and up to lots of different things at the same time.
All right. And when and where were you born?
I was born in Portland, Maine in 1946.
46.
Yeah.
And
I'm 67 years old.
67, and you're so alive and alert. It's unbelievable, unreal. Yeah. Okay. And we talked a little about your cultural heritage. Anything to contribute there for the viewers about your culture or national or racial?
No, I grew up a New England minister's daughter in pretty conservative environment, politically not conservative, but socially conservative environment. Then I went to Reed College in the 60s. And all hell broke loose. So that ended the
60s.
Social conservatism for me. And then I, when I was practicing law, which was my career for 25 years, I specialized in Spanish-speaking cases. And so I aligned myself with the various Hispanic communities and learned a lot about the language and cultures of the Hispanic world.
So you're bilingual?
I'm bilingual.
Even today?
And bicultural.
And bicultural. That's interesting.
Yeah,
What does that mean?
Well, you don't just learn a language in a vacuum. People speak their language from their own cultural base. So to truly learn a language, you need to know the culture. And I say cultures when it comes to Latin America. There are multiple cultures.
So you learn different versions of Spanish.
Not that I speak different versions of Spanish, but you learn, for example, in Costa Rica, they address each other formally rather than informally more often than in Mexico, where you're very apt to use the informal form of address. So yeah, it's just different cultural twists on the same thing.
Yeah, and did we talk about your religious preference? You embrace all religions or none or what?
I'm pretty much none of the above. And it turns out that because I'm outspoken about everything, including my skepticism about the various world religions, there are points in the book where I do bring up what I would call my atheism, and it has people have sort of stumbled over that. People with strong religious beliefs stumble when they get to those sections, but there aren't very many of them.
But you mentioned the book. This is the book we're talking about. You better get that up here so we can see it pretty good. There it is. Great book. I read it again, and just across the board, it's a good, entertaining, fun read. You're a remarkable writer, and the stories you tell here are just enchanting, I promise you. Buy the book. It's really worth reading, and it's a joy.
Thank you.
And your education, you finally ended up as a lawyer. And anything significant more about your formal education that's worth reporting or talking about?
Oh, I was an art history major undergraduate, so it had nothing to do with what I went on to become, but it had everything to do with making me just broadly curious about the world in general.
How'd you switch from that to becoming an attorney?
I needed a job.
Oh, but give me some juicy story about that. You got enough of those coming up, though.
Yeah.
And you have a partner, a boyfriend, girlfriend, a dog, or something?
No.
You don't got nobody else?
No, not in the household. I have a sister very close to me who becomes my caregiver when I relapse and get sick, and she lives in the area. And I have a niece also who is very dear to me, who lives in the area, and we do a lot together. But in my household, I'm freewheeling and single.
You see that, viewers? It's amazing how you say when I'm not relapsing. What's the word you use just now?
Yeah.
You say it matter-of-factly as though it's a part of everyday life.
It is a part of everyday life.
When I'm not relapsing.
Yes.
And look at it, you're still smiling.
Yeah.
You're incredible.
Yeah. No, it's been 6 years that I have been fighting stage 4 melanoma. And it used to be stage 4 melanoma was a death sentence within a matter of weeks or months from diagnosis.
And how many years has it been?
It's been 6 years.
6 years.
Yes.
Stage 4.
Yeah, and they beat it back, and I get lively like you see me now, and then all of a sudden one day, whomp, something happens, and I'm off in the hospital again. So I'm used to the idea that it will ambush me without warning.
And between these bouts, what do you do?
Have a wonderful life. Yeah.
Will you talk a little bit about the history of your melanoma and cancer, the first time and the times in between before a recurrence and where it occurred on your body?
Okay. Yeah, I'll try and do the history in a nutshell. In 1990, many years ago, they removed a mole from my back that was melanoma. And they followed up as best they could in those days, but I never had any scans. I had blood tests and chest x-rays and things. And then my oncologist died in a plane crash. And people forgot to keep watching me for melanoma, and I forgot about it because everybody assumed I was cured because enough years went by.
They removed the mole?
Right, yeah, they removed it and everything seemed fine, and then 6 years ago, I was suffering chronic anemia, and they couldn't figure it out until finally, after a year and a half of giving me blood transfusions, one of the bright doctors decided to do a CAT scan.
How many years went by from the time they removed the mole until you've had this?
Something like 18.
18 years from then it came back.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah. And they discovered a grapefruit-sized tumor in my abdomen, which was removed surgically in 2008. A 9-centimeter mass in my upper chest, which they couldn't operate on. So that was basically a death sentence there, because that was melanoma. And they managed to hold that back with interleukin, which is a form of immunotherapy. like chemotherapy, but chemotherapy on steroids. And I write a lot about that in the book. The interleukin is, I was hospitalized to receive the treatments because they bring you to death's door with the treatment. So then they radiated it, and that combination worked for several years. I was going along pretty well, and had enough time to take this wonderful tent camping trip that I write about in Melanoma Mama, which is
it's a delightful story.
That's the main thing, that I wanted to write the book to show how much joy you can have while you have this, you know, dark clouds hanging over you. And so the tent camping trip is really the main part of the book. And while I'm on this cross-country solo tent camping trip, I'm remembering in flashbacks back to my various treatments.
Sure.
And so then, subsequent, just when the book was going to press, I had got ambushed with a golf ball-sized tumor in my brain, right up in here.
Oh, man.
And that landed me in the hospital the very day that we figured out that something was wrong. And 2 days later, I'm having 4-hour brain surgery. And that was in 2012, in February. And so then they radiated that spot and gave me another round of immunotherapy, a different kind this time called ipilimumab. And then I needed another brain surgery the next fall. So I had two brain surgeries in 1 year. And so I'm still, that was 2012, and here we are at 2014, and I'm still pretty fatigued crawling out of that hole they dug for me.
Oh my gosh. Now, I've chatted with some people recently about melanoma, and I think some people have the idea melanoma is skin cancer and that's it. It doesn't continue on and do the awful things that it's done to your body.
Yeah. Melanoma, there are several different kinds of skin cancer, and people go, oh, skin cancer, my grandfather had skin cancer, and they just removed it, and it's no big deal. Well, that's squamous cell or basal cell carcinoma, or most of those ones that are just, oh, well, we'll just cut it off and don't worry about it. Melanoma, you don't just cut it off and don't worry about it. You watch and watch and watch after that, after it is removed, because if you don't get it early enough and any of the cells get out into the bloodstream and start living within you, then you end up in my situation where it's just in me. Stage 4 means that they will never say I'm in remission. They say that I'm NED. I have no evidence of disease, active disease now when they scan me.
They won't say you're in remission.
But they won't call it remission because it will come back. It will come back, yeah.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah. So that's just a different life. It just is a different life, and I've been very fortunate with excellent doctors, excellent medical care, and just miraculously, I'm here.
And and you still do camping and outdoor stuff?
Oh yeah.
All right. So political memberships in political, social, or civic organizations. Do you belong to anything like that worth mentioning to the viewers?
No.
No, you're not a joiner.
I'm not anymore. When I was practicing law, I was on every board and committee and organization, and and when I retired, I just went, no.
That's enough, huh?
Yeah.
Any persons from the past or alive today that you particularly admire? Any names come to mind?
Mm-hmm. You asked me this last time and it stumped me, so I'm ready this time.
Go for it.
I just finished reading the book My Beloved World by Sonia Sotomayor.
Really?
And it is a marvelous book, and I highly recommend it. Sonia Sotomayor is one of the few women who has become a Supreme Court justice, U.S. Supreme Court justice, and she's Puerto Rican and born and raised in a Spanish-speaking family and lived in projects in poverty in New York as she was growing up. She was not a privileged Hispanic person. She lived in the projects. Her family spoke Spanish, and she describes her wonderful, rich childhood growing up within the Puerto Rican, New York, Puerto Rican world, and then going off to Princeton and Harvard Law School and becoming a U.S. Supreme Court judge. That's my girl. She's my babe.
What prompted you to read her book?
Well, I was a lawyer who represented Spanish-speaking clients, so I was fascinated to see how she did this, how she maneuvered in that world to get where she is. And she did it because she's smart and gutsy and funny and, you know, very nice. Her writing style is delicious. I like the book. Yeah.
Oh, son of a gun.
Yeah.
Now, I've got so many books that are waiting to be read. Now you're going to have me add another one.
It should go near the top of the pile.
All right. Let's see how we're doing with time. We're doing fine with time. What's right with America today? Remember I asked you that question before?
Yeah. What's right? Well,
with America.
I've been getting good medical service on Medicare.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what's right.
Yeah, I used to have private insurance, so I didn't talk about how wonderful the medical care was because not everybody could afford that.
Yes.
And now I'm in a more level playing field with the rest of the public because when you get a certain age, everybody goes on Medicare, and I'm still getting excellent care. They keep saving my life and doing big expensive operations and treatments, and it's great. I'm doing wonderful. So keep Medicare.
That's what's right with America. Do you think all Americans should have a Medicare from cradle to grave?
Yes.
Boy, that's pretty revolutionary.
Revolutionary. It's only revolutionary if you live here.
No, because a lot of countries have some form of health care for their entire populations.
Of course. Yeah.
Why is that? Why is America different in that regard?
I think we want to spend our money on wars. That's all I can figure out. We won't spend it enough on health care, and we won't spend it enough on education. So why aren't we paying our taxes to give back to ourselves what we need?
Answer your question.
I can't answer that question. I don't know why we do that. Why do we pay our taxes to pour wasted money into other countries that aren't, you know, that we drop bombs on and kill people? It just doesn't make sense to me why social services aren't a higher priority.
I'm surprised you don't have the correct answer. There's a one-word answer. And you're a very distinguished lawyer.
Oh, okay. What's your answer?
Greed.
Greed. Okay.
I've been practicing this for a long time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's anything else that comes to mind that's right with our America?
I think we can move on.
Are you ready?
Okay. Yes.
What's wrong with America?
What's wrong with America?
And you alluded to it in the answer to the last question. Yeah.
Yes, that's the spending trillions on, you know, what did we spend, $1 trillion or more in Iraq, and now we've lost all of that ground, all of it, gone in a few days. In the latest news, where they're talking about all the major cities, except Baghdad, have been, you know, conquered by the people we were over there fighting. So what's that about? Why, you know, why did we go muck in what's now their civil war? And you know, it just,
I love that question. Why? That's my favorite word in the English language. Why? And they keep going back and back. And maybe I get some understanding as to why something seems so irrational and crazy. And there's always a reason.
Yeah.
And when I have the reason, if I can't do anything about it right now, at least I have some, I can relax a little bit and say I have something to aim for ultimately. And if I can't solve it, perhaps my great-grandchildren or whatever will solve it. But at least I've got an answer as to
Yeah.
what to do to take care of it.
Yeah, I don't know if I have an answer. I just think that it's important to point out that it's insane what we did.
Yeah.
It's insane to spend $1 trillion on something where there's a problem that we can't fix, and we're never going to fix it, and we put all that money into that, and now they're back to doing business their own way.
Okay.
Without us.
All right. Shall we take a break soon here? Because we're going to get cranking in the second half of the show, and there's a lot of stuff we're going to cover. Take a break, Mr. E, and take a look at that public service announcement. The second one is pretty important, and I think you don't go for a drink of water when your PSAs are coming up later on. Take a break now. Okay. Okay, we're back. Thanks for staying tuned. And for you viewers who missed the opening of the show, Conversations with Dr. Don is an ongoing series of one-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like most of you out there about who they are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals, and whatever it is we have decided to talk about. We're going to continue on with the second half of the show, and we'll be talking about melanoma and a whole bunch of other stuff that Connie is going to tell us about that you're going to find quite interesting. I wonder if it'll be as interesting as the first interview we did 2 years ago. It'll be quite a leap to be as interesting as that one. So we got some questions here.
Can I talk about, since it's about melanoma, can I talk about the warning signs of melanoma and the warning against using tanning booths?
Of course, yes.
This is something that I feel very strongly about, since I have stage 4 melanoma, from which I will never be out from under the shadow of, and it has almost killed me a number of times. I think that if I could give any message to people, it is do not tan and do not go into tanning booths. White is now beautiful, and we're going to change the culture that tanning is beautiful, because tanning is not beautiful. When you tan, your skin is reacting to the sun's radiation, and it's putting up a fight. And you shouldn't have to react to the sun's radiation. You should protect yourself from the sun's radiation. And so the warning signs to watch for melanoma, A, B, C, D, and E. If you have a mole on your skin and it's asymmetrical, meaning just kind of lopsided,
Yeah.
That's one warning sign. B, border, an irregular border rather than a nice smooth round mole. C, color. The color of the mole might be blackish, bluish, brownish, different colors all in the same mole rather than just an even brown. D, the diameter, the size of a pencil eraser or larger. And E, that it evolves, it changes. A mole that once looked one way and all of a sudden it's getting bigger, or it's raising up from the skin, or the color is changing. Those are all warning signs to get yourself to a dermatologist and have that mole checked.
So those are the warning signs. Yeah, there's been some of that in my family too, which I won't go into right now.
Yeah.
And where they've moved from just a mole into carcinoma.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Now, as we were talking earlier in this show, not everything that is skin cancer is melanoma. It could be basal cell or squamous cell, which still has to be dealt with. But these are the warning signs that a mole could be a melanoma.
So you got your next answer, or shall I give you a question?
Yeah, give me a question.
Yeah. How did you come to write this book on life, death, and tent camping? How did you come to write this book?
Well, I'm a writer, and I love writing, but I thought I was going to die from the melanoma, and I wouldn't have time to write a book about it, so I wasn't planning to do it. And then they miraculously, snatched me from the jaw of the Grim Reaper, and I got a reprieve and went on this lovely cross-country tent camping trip and started journaling about that. And I just went, oh, I have a book in me, and I have time to write it. And I want to tell people that when you have a diagnosis of a terminal disease or something terrible happening, you don't have to live in terror every day. You can have a really rich, rewarding life while walking through the valley of the shadow of death.
Even as you're dancing with the Grim Reaper, I think you put it.
Entangled in a tango with death.
Entangled with it. Oh, I love it. Read the book.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you talked about what the book is about. Anything more you want to say to that question now?
Just that the book is more humorous than people would imagine. It is not a memoir of me, writing about my illness so that I will feel better. It's not one of those, it's like people go, oh, if you journal, it'll help you, I didn't do it for that. I wrote it for other people to read, to understand that there is life within what is miserable at times. And between the misery, you get to live a wonderful life, if you're lucky.
It's hard to describe what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's the kind of a thing you've got to
have
experience.
To write and then write a book about it.
And you've had a good time along the way.
Yes.
Did the doctors give you a timeline for how long you'll live? Did they ever do that? Have they done it recently?
They're reluctant to put expiration dates on people anymore because they're always wrong. And they get people worked up for no good reason. But if you push them, they will tell you the statistics. And I always want to know. So I have had, when I first got diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma, I didn't ask a specific timeline, but it was very clear to me when the doctor said, get your affairs in order, that he thought, weeks to months. And they were talking about, well, we'll radiate this tumor up here. We can't operate on it, but it will give you a few more months, add a few months to your life. It's added years, but so they were talking months when I was first diagnosed 8 years ago. And then they started,
8 years ago.
yeah. And then after the radiation worked so well, It shrank the tumor and it just went dormant. And
But
it's
for
been
a while
dormant.
there, you couldn't swallow.
For a while, I couldn't
It was
swallow.
constricting your esophagus.
It was blocking my esophagus, and they were going to have to perform surgery about that if they couldn't shrink it, and only to give me a little more time to live was the plan. Yeah, and then they shrank it, and it stayed shrunk and still dormant, and so then they said, "Oh, you have as much as maybe 20 more years at that point." So I was all happy, and I went on my camping trip, and I wrote my book and everything. And then I got clobbered with this stupid brain tumor, and a few years later, and that turned my life back upside down again. And so after the brain tumor was removed, I asked the doctor point blank, "What does that do to my longevity now?" And this was in February of 2012, and he said, "You have maybe 9 months." Even after they removed the brain tumor.
And this was just in 2012.
In 2012, 2 years ago.
You're defying all the odds.
Yeah, I'm odd. Yeah.
There's more of this kind of wit in the book. I can't praise it too much, I promise. Yeah.
So yeah, my expiration date is flexible.
There's something on page 223
Okay.
that you might find useful to read
Okay.
for our viewers here. Yeah. 223.
223. Oh yes, this is we're talking about why did I write the book, and this is basically, you know, my purpose in life now. My purpose in life when I was practicing law was to change the world. You know, I mean, everybody has that for a purpose in life when they're young and energetic, right? Yeah, yeah. And now I have a different purpose in life, and this is, we were talking about it in our support group, and I said in the support group, one time we discussed our purpose in life. When you're young and healthy, you can dream big dreams, change the world, make a big splash. What about now? I remember one woman saying that enjoying each day was enough now. She had realized this is not selfish. Everybody knows she's dying, yet they see her mostly happy. She's not keeping a stiff upper lip for the sake of appearances. She's mostly being truly happy. That gives other people hope. When they see us with our terminal diagnoses laughing and loving and living, that's our new job. That's our purpose, to show the world how much living there is in dying. We bear the torch of hope.
So that's what, pardon me, a support group is like.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, this support group I will mention, it's called Making Today Count. It is free and it is open to women with late stage cancer, and it meets every Wednesday at St. Vincent's.
Here in Portland.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure there's support groups, similar support groups in other cities around the country.
Oh, there are lots of support groups, and they're for different stages of cancer. The one I go to, Making Today Count, is for women with late-stage cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I have
It's
another
professionally facilitated.
So without a support group, where would you be now?
I'm not going to the support group right now.
Mm-hmm.
I took a sabbatical.
Oh.
And the reason
You don't need it anymore?
No, I need it. And I email the people that I really, you know, want to stay in touch with. But the women were dying at too great a rate.
Oh.
It's late stage cancer. And I had a heck of a year this year. I had close friends die, college classmates that are very dear to me, and a whole group of the women in the cancer support group were dying. And I had a rough year, even though my own cancer was, you know, no evidence of active cancer. I was clobbered over and over by death of other people. And so I took a sabbatical from the group because it was just too much for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that sadness and grieving.
Yeah. It was it's called cumulative grief. When you have one death after another, each death brings up all of the feelings from the death before, and so it mounts up and gets bigger and bigger and very sad. Yeah.
All right. 223.
Mhm.
And the next page, we're going to talk about
Yeah.
something from the book again, page 189. What is your life like when you're not getting treatments for your cancer? Can you really find joy with this diagnosis hanging over your head? Will you read a passage from page 189 about things you do to enjoy life?
Okay.
I want to hear more of that. You're telling me
Yes,
already.
this is the deal. Okay. This was back right after I had taken the trip and I was doing a lot better. I've gone for the better part of a year with no medical treatments whatsoever. I've flown to Florida and to Las Vegas. I've driven twice across the country. I've climbed several mountains and I've danced and skied. I've stopped giving things away. I write earlier about giving away my possessions when I thought I was dying. I've stopped giving things away. About the things I did give away, what am I supposed to do? Go to my friends and say, hey, I didn't die after all. Give me back my stuff. I don't think so. I bought new clothes and shoes. I even bought a bar of scented soap I didn't need. I bought a turquoise necklace in Yellowstone and a camping knife in Cody. I've played my guitar while my stepfather Frank played flute, and boy, did we swing. I continued to study Italian, and I look forward to a trip to Italy someday. I hosted a cozy Thanksgiving dinner in the charming farmhouse kitchen. And I wrote, and then I write about writing the book. So I did get the trip to Italy. I looked forward to it when I wrote that, and that's another book in the works. Avoiding the Tuscan sun, Melanoma Mama in Italy, and I'm about a third of the way through that. Yeah, I got to go. I studied Italian in Lucca and in Florence in language school there.
You're incredible.
It was fun. I just went, I want to learn Italian.
When are you going to finish this book?
That one?
The one you're
Well,
working
I'm a
on
little
now.
bit stalled now because my house is on the market. I'm downsizing.
Uh-huh.
And that's a big thing. Downsizing
my
from a house
God,
I've lived
yeah.
in for 40 years.
40 years, my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
How soon will you be through with that?
I don't know. Nobody's bought the house yet. It's a great deal.
What part of Portland is it in?
It's in the Lair Hill neighborhood. It's one of the older houses, right where the new apartment buildings end and the older houses begin. It's right by the Naturopathic College. Walking distance from downtown. Yeah.
I have to get the address. No, I'm
Yeah.
Wonderful, yeah. Many people say their religions sustain them and helps them get through life's difficulties. Is that true for you? Or do you warn the reader in the first chapter that you're not going to side with any religion? Can you read starting from page 6 with religions?
Page 6. Yes, we were talking about this earlier. You asked me, if I had a religious preference, and I said none of the above. And this is a part of the book that has ruffled feathers of people who are strong believers.
Sure.
So I will tell you about this, and then I will tell you about why I love those people. Let's see. I recognize the miraculous gift of a second chance. I hesitate to mention gifts and miracles because it might seem like I'm dipping my toe in the baptismal font of religiosity. Trust me, that's not where this is heading. I'm not steeped in anyone's doctrine. But I do think about grace when a person, through no personal merit, having done nothing more than any other terminal cancer patient, gets a second chance. There is a calm, a balm, a peaceful sigh of relief in feeling saved from certain doom. But call me skeptical, my best guess is that no misty, ghosty thingy sprinkles grace like Tinkerbell's fairy dust. I would never be rude enough to claim that God was protecting me above the many who have died of cancer. That's just wrong. I'm not about to confirm any theology. I won't arbitrate the dispute over whether heaven consists of harps and halos, phalanxes of virgins, or a tedious eternity with your dysfunctional family? I haven't a clue. I can only talk about life, and on that subject I advocate living passionately and abundantly, period. My purpose in writing this book is to show how much living can be done in the valley of the shadow of death.
Oh, and you have done it, yeah.
And the reason that I wanted to say that I love the critics, my critics who don't like that part of my writing, is that I have moderated my sort of a little bit sarcastic tone that I use on that subject somewhat because I have seen that religion does help people at the end of life who are who are already strong believers. If people are already strong believers, their belief systems can help them remain more tranquil as they face death. And so I am not critical. I'm not an evangelist trying to make everybody become an atheist. And I admire people who have those beliefs that can help them stay calm. And the other reason why I've kind of moderated a bit is that I've been the recipient of a great gift from a family that their impulse is from Christian charity. They formed a nonprofit group called Epic Experience. And Epic Experience is a nonprofit to help cancer patients have a fun adventure in the Colorado wilderness for free.
For free?
For free. They pay your airfare. They pay for a week at a dude ranch at 9,000 feet.
Didn't you have a graphic about that?
Yeah. Here, let me show you what we've got. This is Epic Experience was epic. I went this winter. Have we got have they come in on that? That's their motto, Epic Experience Life Beyond Cancer, and their website is epicexperience.org. And here's a part of my epic experience with them.
I saw that earlier.
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
We can come in on that. This is me at 9,000 feet this last February. I'm sitting here resting after having climbed a very large hill on snowshoes, and they had a warming tent set up for us with our hot chocolate. And then down here they took us on a dog sled ride, which was the adventure of a lifetime. If you get to go on a dog sled ride, it should be on everybody's bucket list. Those dogs are hysterical. They're loud and rowdy and unruly until they're pulling, and then they are single-minded and they go fast.
They do go fast.
Oh, they go fast. And this was fast downhill on a curvy track, so it was like riding a luge, behind a dog sled. Yeah. So Epic Experience. And I thank these people. They do not proselytize or talk about their religion, but because it is that their religious impulse to give that has that made them create this wonderful nonprofit. So that's why I say, to people who read my book and hear my skepticism and my atheism, I love you all dearly. Yeah.
I think about, some people talk about near-death experiences and what it's like for each person who had a near-death experience. And you have been very sick, and you've, I guess, almost died a number of times. Have you had any awarenesses or experiences that you would characterize as near-death experiences?
No. No. When I came close to death from the interleukin, not from the cancer, I was being treated in the hospital with interleukin, and interleukin is a form of immunotherapy that boosts your immune system so much that your immune system is attacking your entire body, and it almost kills you.
Even the healthy cells.
Yeah, yeah. And so you end up in the intensive care unit from the treatment. And all I remember about that is that everything was vague. I don't even remember. I was 3 days in intensive care, and I can't even tell you what happened to me in there. I went back and looked at that room one time just to see if it would bring back any memories, and it didn't. I was...
You were heavily medicated.
Well, I was dying.
Of course.
Yeah, and then they left, brought me back somehow. But no, I wasn't medicated. They couldn't medicate me because my blood pressure was so low.
Yeah.
That's what I was dying from. My blood pressure dropped. And so I don't know. I didn't have a vivid memory of that. And what I've observed from being with people who are on their deathbeds and approaching death, and even I've observed several deaths, is that that generally you drift off at the end. It's more like going to sleep with some very weird, punctuated, hard, difficult breathing. But that there isn't, the person is already sort of often wherever they've gone to mentally. So I think the near-death experiences come from like car crashes and things that are sudden, because people who die in bed don't tend to have those as much, I don't think. I haven't seen them.
Right now I'm thinking about my two favorite songs for some reason or other.
Okay.
One of them is Alfie, and the other is That All There Is. Remember those two songs?
Vaguely, yeah.
What's it all about, Alfie?
Oh, yeah, okay,
Is it
yeah,
just
yeah,
for the moment we live?
Yeah, yeah.
And then, what about the lyrics to that song? What's it all about for you? What's it all about? What's it all about? Is it just for the moment we live, or?
That is. I mean,
That's what it's all about?
Yes, I'm taking a course in mindfulness-based stress reduction, and we learn to meditate. And what we learn to do, the kind of meditation that we do, is to be accepting of whatever impulse, whatever stuff is coming our way. And it's very helpful for patients, people who are ill, because it's not a kind of meditation where you're, off in another dimension. You're very much present, and you're learning to be accepting of now, whatever is now. You just learn to be calm and face it. So you learn to face fear, you learn to, the terror subsides. And there is terror. There's terror around this stuff. Yeah, I mean, I've watched people dying who did not just fall asleep gracefully. And it has given me a sense of fear and terror that I hadn't always had until I saw a couple of very, very awful experiences that
So I
dear
see why
friends
you've
went
taken
through.
a sabbatical from.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a form of, almost like you get almost like post-traumatic stress disorder from watching, if you watch people screaming while they're very, very sick and close to death, if you watch a lot of vomiting, if you watch those things. And I think that people who get to be in a deathbed room are privileged, because it's an intimate relationship. When you're with somebody who is on their deathbed, they're trusting you to not make it worse. They're letting, if you're allowed in where somebody's dying, they're trusting you to not make it worse. And so being there is a privilege, even though later on you're going to be really shaken by some of the things that you see there. And so I spend a lot of time with friends dying, and I do it on purpose if they're people I really care about. I have one friend who died this year, and it took her 3 months. She was bedridden, and I was one of her caregivers. I gave her this, and she held it with her for 3 months.
Yes.
Yeah. And
3 months.
And then when her husband called me one morning and said she had died in the night, and I went into her room, And her color was gone. She looked yellow, no motion, and she had this. And so I took it, and I washed it up, and I held it here, and I cried. Yeah. And I keep it with me. I keep this with me. These are experiences that, to me, that experience is as profound as when I was present when my niece was born. People coming into the world and people going out of the world. These are very profound times. And learning to, I call it sitting with death, sitting quietly, watching somebody else breathing, massaging their feet, singing to them. Yeah, yeah. And
the second song I mentioned comes to mind right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember Peggy Lee's "Is That All There Is"?
I don't remember that song. Yeah, yeah.
Is that all there is? Is that all there is? My friends, so I just keep dancing.
Yeah.
And it's like at the very end, I'm reflecting back on my life
Yeah.
and saying, is that all there is?
Yeah.
There should be more. What is that? You ever have that kind of a thought? Is that all there is, looking back at your life?
No, because my life is, I still cram it full every single day. I was off on this beautiful hike Monday with these really close dear friends.
This past Monday?
This past Monday in the Columbia Gorge, and we were seeing waterfalls, and the flowers were blooming, the spring flowers, and we were up in a meadow that was so full of flowers it looked like we were walking through somebody's garden. And I don't have to say, is this all there is? This is wondrous what there is. This is wondrous. Yeah.
You mentioned you sing.
Uh-huh.
Do you sing every day?
Not every day, but singing, I mentioned that in relation to me singing for this friend, and my mother sang for me, and I wrote about that in the book. Do we have the page here? I'd like to...
We're going to need to wind down in about 20 seconds.
Okay, let me just... See, I want to mention then mindfulness-based stress reduction. This is the course that is medically based, helping you learn meditation and yoga techniques. And it is specifically designed for cancer patients, and it's marvelous.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to have to leave it there. We should have another hour.
Yeah.
You have a final word or comment to the viewers who are seeing you on this show, and look right in the camera and tell them the message you want to leave for them. Go ahead.
I'm just pausing.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. The message is, you're here hearing my voice. I'm here speaking. This is what we have. And this is as good as it gets.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now I got to tell you about some public service announcements that we're going to have on the screen. To get my local broadcast schedule, go to my website and click on present day activities. And to get my shows on the web, go to Don Baham YouTube and click on a particular show. There's a lot of shows on there. And I've got to tell you about the American Civil Liberties Union. Our civil liberties are in jeopardy anymore with what the government is doing. And join the American Civil Liberties Union to protect our civil liberties, those that are still remaining. And to get my shows broadcast by other stations around the country, go to pegmedia.org and follow the instructions there. And we got to end corporate personhood because corporations are taking over our country and the world for that matter. And we got to amend the Constitution to say that corporations are not persons and money is not speech. Thanks for watching, and remember KFC, not Kentucky Fried Chicken, Dr. Don's KFC. Kind, friendly, and charitable. Be kind, and be friendly. Be charitable to you too. And you too. And you too, Paul. Thanks again for watching.